Turning our attention to the ear, we're only going to have one priority as far as the topology is concerned, and that is to achieve the shape with efficient topology using only quads. We're not concerned with deformation. The ear just sort of sits there. There's no bones that make it move a certain way, nor are we concerned with the even grid-like topology we used in the last video for the scalp, nor are we going to be able to use the concentric edge loops like we used for the mouth and eye. This is a pretty weird, complex shape, and the topology likewise will be a little weird and complex. We're basically going to go polygon by polygon until we have the whole structure built. And what's going to make this cumbersome is the fact that this shape we need to see from the backside, from the front, from below, from above, and this in-front viewport display is something we're going to fight the entire way. So we'll be able to get through it with the built-in tools, mostly through hiding parts of the mesh and unhiding as we go. But the first step is going to be creating a mesh by itself so we can hide the rest of the head. So I'm going to Alt-click to select this entire border edge surrounding the ear and hit Shift-D. All right, that will duplicate, and then I'll immediately hit right-click so we don't actually move the verts. They will be in the exact same place. And then I can separate this by hitting the P key and choosing selection. Now jumping into object mode with the tab key, let's select that ring that we just duplicated. And the reason we duplicated this is I can make the decision right now to not move any of these verts, but just use them as a starting point. And then when we're done with the ear, they'll easily tie back in to the rest of the head mesh. So actually I should hide the head mesh while I'm at it in object mode. Hide that and just focus on the ear. Also the mirror modifier, let's turn off the mirror function in edit mode. And we will start by simply extruding another edge loop into the crease that connects ear to head. And I can already tell that I wish I had more geometry coming into the back of the ear. This is just going to be spreading it pretty thin. You'll see what I mean when we get there, but I'm just creating a vertex for every corresponding vert all the way around. Okay, that should fill nicely. And even here, you can already see like that occludes right in the middle of the ear, and that's just going to make it funky. But we're going to focus on the back side of the ear first and then finish on the front side, kind of culminating down into the ear canal. But if I'm going to create this topology, I really need to hit the C circle select and hide this geometry so it's not in the way. I'm just going to select it and hit H. Although I actually think I did that one step too early, because as I start the back side of the ear, I'm really going to need to create a diamond junction here and turn one edge into three. All right, that's going to be important because the ear sort of spreads out from this point, and I need new edge loops to accomplish this shape in here. And so starting out with a diamond junction is going to be important. And then once I've started that diamond junction, I'll go ahead and hide these edges so they don't get in the way. Okay, so now I'm continuing to extrude according to these verts that we've already created. And aligning them, I want to do that from multiple angles because it's easy to think that's a good alignment this direction, but then when we rotate around, it's like, oh no, that's actually kind of angled. Just continue extruding down. And then actually, I shouldn't fill quite yet. But let's talk about filling one edge and then the necessary geometry needed to accomplish the underlying shape. So from here, I need to cut one vert in the middle. All right, that's going to define this crease. And then I need a vert on either side to accomplish the rest of the profile. Okay, so this is that extra geometry we needed that we started with this first diamond junction, but I think I'm going to need another diamond junction. So let's cut one vertex up here and then create another diamond. Try and get them to align with surrounding geometry. Just kind of pulled back a little bit. And this should give me the geometry I need. I can just fill in this way. Okay, so now I can fill probably one step or one face at a time, because I want to make sure that I get these verts in the canal properly. Now you may start to notice that why I said I wish I had more edges coming into the ear, because look at how squashed these faces are, how long they are. They are a far cry from being square, which is, ideal. And, what we could try and do is select these edges, Control B to bevel them, add another segment, turn it to %, and try and get that a little bit even so that we have a lot more geometry, which we can then terminate into diamond junctions, right? Like merge at last, and do that all the way around. But the problem is this is way too fine of geometry. Like that's way more dense in terms of face size. And honestly, I think it's a little bit too much. So we're not going to go that approach and just sort of deal with it being lower resolution. And I hit too many Control Z's, kind of froze up on me. Let's hope Blender doesn't crash. Okay, I think we're good. And let's just finish up down here. So the inside face actually is a good place to terminate right here. If not there, maybe we'll come down one more and then terminate. Although I think that would terminate in a hidden vertex. So I'll wait till I unhide that. Okay. So we've got the back of the ear outlined pretty well. Let's hit Alt-H to bring back everything else. Yeah, so here I can terminate that diamond junction. And then continue extruding according to each corresponding vert. You can kind of get a sense at this point why it's a little bit awkward. Let's terminate it into, well, I want to terminate another diamond junction. Maybe it's a little too soon to do that. All right, let's continue this defining edge of the helix, which is the outermost ring or donut shape of the ear. And just look how visually complex that is. Hopefully you can get a feel for it with your own model, but I'm sure watching this is like, whoa, what is he doing? All right, so I think I can terminate here into a diamond junction. And so with the back of the ear established, I can pretty much hide all of that geometry. So let's select this defining edge of the helix, and then I might need a little bit of modification to these faces, so let's leave those. Okay, Shift H to hide everything else. And it looks like we're a little bit tight on this side, but you can see just how low res the geometry is. It's really unfortunate that we have to cut off so much of the shape using the base geometry, but we should be able to get that shape back whenever we do a shrink wrap operation pretty soon. So this is definitely a concession that I'm making as the modeler, keeping it lower resolution so that it matches the rest of the head, or at least it matches more the rest of the head rather than being super detailed for just this one spot on the head. And so at this point, I really just want to start tracing the helix all the way around. So we'll create another defining edge loop, and this does fit the concentric edge loop form factor, but as soon as we get inside the helix, that format will not really work. All right, so I'm just extruding all the way around the spiral, creating a row of faces, an edge ring, or face ring rather. Let's see, I'll just go ahead and connect all the way over here, M at last. Okay, now we can connect all the way around. And then with such a tight edge on the helix, I'm going to extrude inside one more edge to give it that definition. Then kind of spread out once we get into the concha, I believe it's pronounced. Okay. And then this crease is the southern side of the scapha, which starts as a smooth scoop and then tightens down into this crease. So whenever we have a crease, we need 3 edges, right? We need 1 in the center to define the depth, and then 1 on each side to define the wall. Okay, so we can, let's see, I actually need another edge. Yeah, so I need another one right in here. It's very compressed geometry. This will define the wall. Whoops. Control right click. Another thing to keep in mind about the control right click approach is that it will snap whichever vertex it started from, right? So I'm hitting control right click, and this vert is actually moving. So if I do this and try that again, control snap, you'll see that this vertex snapped to the surface. So if that gets cumbersome in areas like this, use E instead. When you hit E to extrude, it will leave the originating vertex where it was. All right, so I'm defining the wall, and then E to extrude to the depth, E to extrude to the wall. And then here I can fill and then cut in the middle. I mean, it's a very tight space, very easy to get confused. Okay, I'm just going to select everything since we've got some inconsistent normals and hit Shift N. All right, so we've got the base of the scapha where it turns into a crease established. We can continue holding on to that concentric shape of the edge loops as long as we can. All right, but this is going to be the defining depth. Now that we're in the scoop portion, it looks like we do have one other edge for the wall. We can smooth these out. Actually, maybe I shouldn't because it is fairly defined as a crease back there. And now we're going to start getting away from the concentric edge loop approach. And similarly, I need to start defining the inside of this crease. But now we're into the forked shape of the triangular fossa, and I'm going to have to just go vertex by vertex, really. Let's see, if I cut one more edge loop down this way, that should give me a little more geometry to tie in over here. So let's try and make that work, spread these verts out a little bit better. Make sure that they're snapped on the side. And then we have a pretty definitive shape right here, but no geometry to really account for it. I'm really not sure how to go about that. Maybe I'll wait. I'll leave that for a bit and come back. You know, this is where we're really seeing kind of the puzzle nature of retopology. So if I'm puzzled, I'll just come back later and address it with a fresh perspective. So I'm going to continue as long as I can the concentric edge loops, but this fork presents a problem for the topology that's going to change the concentric nature. And I'm just going shape by shape. Let's see, from here, I probably need to define that diamond junction. There we go. And we can tie off those quads nicely and start to extrude inside here. The antitragus on the right and the tragus on the left. Sometimes I will just extrude a string of edges, as you've seen me do a lot. I'm not sure if I've explained it quite yet. But, you know, as you start to focus on a certain area, like I'm spending a lot of time on the ear, I start to develop sort of a default edge size. All right. So without really even thinking about it, I just extrude these edges or these verts out, and they have a fairly consistent edge length. At this point in the process, you are probably developing that yourself, maybe even without thinking about it. But this I find to be a natural part of the process that helps create consistent sized faces, especially when I get into a new area, right? Like I don't have much to define what this topology will look like. So I just start extruding edges about the same size as the surrounding faces. And then it usually will tie in together okay. Except I don't think I need this on second thought. Let's merge to the last. Let's just delete this face, kind of start fresh here. Maybe now you can see what I mean by it's not really pretty geometry. but it gets the job done, and it is all quads. All right, so as we slowly sort of navigate around the anatomy, here I'm going to create another diamond junction, just assuming that I need more definition going into the ear canal. So I'm taking this one edge and creating 3 from it. And maybe tie in over here to keep all quads. Okay, so now we can start going into the ear canal. Let's see. Let's get a little bit closer to the rim of the tragus. And from here, let's just swing northward into the antihelix. And then from here, I'll fill the faces, and I know that I had 1 extra edge to cut in the middle. I can easily snap that. Okay. Now I'm coming back to the triangular fossa, and perhaps if I approach it from the bottom, we will have more success. So if I extrude like this, that should give me geometry to fork well enough. Okay, so that does give me enough geometry to accomplish this shape, but how do I connect it up here? I suppose I could do this. This is getting very weird. Boy, that is some weird geometry, but I think it works. Maybe tuck this up a little bit closer. Yeah, we basically created 2 diamond junctions, and I don't know, just sort of went Wild West on this area. Whatever worked, worked. Again, since this isn't important for deformation, it's okay that we achieve it this way. And we are actually maintaining all quads. So, you know, good for us for doing that. Up in here, since this is tucked in so tight, maybe I will just create a diamond junction from here to tie into this additional geometry. There is going to be a pinch on this vert, but that's okay because it's hidden back there. Now to tie in some of this geometry. Let's see. I think what I'll do is cut a new edge headed into the concha. And I think I'll do something like this. I mean, I could end it like that. I think that's really ugly. I'm gonna have to put my foot down there. That is not gonna be good enough. This would probably work a little bit better. Whew. Very, very funky topology. But it helps to zoom out and realize, yeah, we are achieving the shape that we need for the anatomy. But I do think it's a far cry from the prettier geometry we've created up until this point. So we can relax and let's just get the job done. This looks like a good spot for a diamond junction. Continuing the form around the antitragus. Oh, no, I'm sorry. This is the tragus. And now we have enough geometry to get into the ear canal. Here we go. We funneled our way down. We have, it looks like, created a bit of a spiral. Maybe we don't have to do that. Now we should be able to extrude, scale down using the median point. And the more we scale, it's snapping deeper into that ear canal. But as we go this way, we can see that it is anything but an even extrusion. So I'm going to try and even that up as best I can. And then once I'm close to being even or flat, I'll turn off snapping, extrude one more time, maybe a little bit deeper than the sculpture, And then let's E to extrude, M to merge at center. And then move that a little deeper in. Okay, so from here, I will select alternate edges until I can't select anymore. And it looks like we're left with one triangle. All right, so I think have finished the ear. Very strange topology, but all quads. And let's double check if we go to our modifiers and enable subdivision surface smoothing. Okay, so we do end up with kind of a bummer in that due to the lower res base geometry of the retopology, when we smooth it, you can see there's a big difference between our retopology and the sculpture. But do not worry, we are going to salvage that detail, salvage that shape with a shrink wrap modifier. But this is the cost of keeping it lower resolution. And let's turn that off, Alt-H to bring back our head retopology. And let's see, I want to connect the two, Control-J. And then it should just be a matter of Alt-H in edit mode to reveal everything. Alt-click on this border edge and then go into wireframe and Shift-Alt-click again. That'll get both sides. You can see that the gradient orange emanates this direction as well as that direction, telling us we have both sides of that edge ring. And M to merge by distance. And 17 verts. I think that is the total count. Yeah. All right, so we're stitched in, and that's going to be it for the ear topology. Let's just see what it looks like smoothed. Let's also see what it looks like with a wireframe. Yeah, very, very strange topology, but efficient and all quads, so we're going to be happy with that. It will definitely serve our purpose whenever we sculpt. The only negative that just occurred to me is actually the same note that I used on the top of the head, is that this geometry is so spread out, we might have trouble when we add high frequency detail to the sculpture in this area, because all of the multi-res geometry will be stretched here as well. Thankfully, there's not a ton of detail in the ear, so I think we'll get away with it. Meaning there's not a lot of poor detail, on the rim of the helix. So I think we can get away with it. Okay, that's going to be it for the ear. Now all we have to do is retopologize the neck and we'll be done.